All right, what's up, everybody? We're gonna do this thing. Welcome to Red Hare Brewery. We are ATLiens United. Happy Five Stripe Friday. We're really excited to be here tonight amongst all these fantastic-looking beer drinkers. I'm looking out. I'm seeing a lot of people imbibing on some fantastic libations. Joe, what are you drinking right there, right now? What's going on, Joe?
I've got a Juicy IPA, Soft J. It's a UC.
Soft J, juicy. But yeah, like I said,
Very delicious.
We are ATLiens United podcast. We've been doing this podcast thing for a while. This is actually our very first live show, so we're very excited to be out here tonight. So for all our first-time listeners and fellow beer drinkers, we're going to catch you up on all of the Atlanta United news and some other news around Atlanta. We're going to recap the past week for Atlanta United, and then we're going to break down the next match against that other team from Orlando that we're not going to mention. So thanks for coming out tonight. Be sure to tip your bartenders. Be sure to get some King of Pops outside. Don't forget Mac the Cheese is also here. So lots of fun stuff. I think that's Connect. What is that? Is
That's
that
Connect
4?
Adult size.
It seems like more than 4 over there. Anyways, guys, thanks for coming out tonight. Cheers. Hope we don't hurt your eardrums. That was our theme song.
We ready.
Hope it wasn't too intense for anyone. That's Saint Bree, right?
That's it.
He's a local Atlanta artist. And yeah. So Joe, let's catch everyone up on Atlanta news. Obviously, it's Friday in the ATL. It's been an interesting week. There's been thunderstorms almost every day now.
Until today, and the sky's opened up and sun's out, clouds a little bit, but it's been wonderful now. But other than that, you've been having a World Cup party. Everyone's watching the greatest soccer countries in the world go at it, and USA didn't make it, sadly.
Fantastic. So lots of thunderstorms in the air this week. I would say there's electricity in the air. Maybe everyone's excited about the World Cup. Maybe everyone's excited about our rival showdown tomorrow night in the Benz. Trashlando, as we now call them. Ever since we beat them, they haven't won a game.
And they throw trash all over the field.
Threw trash all over the field.
Right around the corner is 4th of July. And
coming up.
The biggest thing in Atlanta around 4th of July is the Peachtree Road Race. I know a lot of people go out, run that Peachtree Road Race. You can enter in, but it's free to come out and watch, support, pass out beers, pass out pizza.
Yeah, Peachtree Road Race coming up. Obviously, it's the largest 10K in the world. So every year, 4th of July, if you guys are a runner, everyone here is drinking beer, but to our listeners out there that like to run, I'd say why not? I mean, it's a free race. Most of these things you have to pay a bunch of money for. So what else do we got going on? We got fireworks going on 4th of July, right?
Yeah, and just a couple years ago, they passed the law you can buy fireworks in Georgia, you can go explode them everywhere, and the cops on the 4th of July just don't even care. So you can buy as many fireworks as you want and just set them off around the city.
So I've heard that on the 4th of July that there are more bullets that enter, Atlanta residents' roofs than any other night of the year.
That's typically in East Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that might be where I live, but also, I mean, who decided it was a good idea to, just because there's fireworks going off to just start shooting guns up in the air? Doesn't make sense to me. We got a little fireworks show last year when we were still at Bobby Dodd.
Well, and that was a great game, wasn't it? Still outdoors. We had a final win by Joseph Martinez.
Beautiful game.
Ripped his shirt off and had a bra.
Yeah, I think that was like a sports bra for Joseph. That was one of those things that, it's stylish, I thought. I thought it was a very good style. But let's update everyone on the World Cup. We got a couple games tomorrow before the game in the Benz on Saturday night, obviously, against
tomorrow.
Orlando.
tomorrow would be a great day to wake up and just watch soccer all day long.
All day soccer
you get
tomorrow.
Up, was it France versus Argentina? You get little Lionel Messi, see if he can carry his team to beat one of the top-ranked teams in the World Cup with France, who's just loaded with talent. You got Griezmann, Pogba, you got N'Golo Kante. Yeah. And then right after that, you're followed with Portugal-Uruguay, which is one of the best matchups of the whole round of 16. And you know the whole world is ready for Portugal to face Argentina, so you can have Lionel Messi versus Ronaldo.
I think Messi versus Ronaldo in the World Cup is something that the soccer world is going to be pushing to see. I hope it doesn't influence any referee decisions tomorrow. We have introduced VAR this World Cup, but I think at the same time, there's been a few questionable calls.
And Mark Geiger has been in the middle of all of those VARs.
Yes.
He has been there. He's one, and all you Atlanta fans know Mark Geiger has been a rival of Atlanta for reffing, which I heard just recently he is from Atlanta. But he apparently doesn't like Atlanta, and so boo that man.
Yeah, Mark Geiger, for you guys that don't know, he's an MLS ref. He's actually been reffing at the World Cup. What's funny about Geiger is I read an article on him. He actually makes himself throw up before every game because he's so nervous. So kind of an interesting character. He's blown a lot of World Cup calls. I don't think it's. I think it's whatever Coach Boone had and Remember the Titans. Before the first game, came out, had to throw up.
So he was like bulimic.
But anyways, we got the All-Star game coming up August the 1st in Mercedes-Benz. Just our second year in existence. Atlanta United gets to host it, playing against the Italian powerhouse
Juventus.
Juve.
Yeah, this is a wonderful matchup, and Juventus has added a ton of players this season. So you think a lot of their guys are gonna play some of their main starters, and Tata Martino is being the head coach, and we've got 6 players voted in.
Yeah.
Minus Nagbe now, and so there's going to be another player to be named later. Maybe we can get Tito Villalba jumping in there, even though he's been injured all year.
Yeah, I mean, to our listeners, obviously we don't want to see anyone get hurt in the All-Star game, but this is going to be an awesome showcase for Atlanta United. We have Brad Guzan, Michael Parkhurst, obviously Miggy, Barco, Joseph, and then unfortunately Nagbe was also voted to the All-Star game, but we'll talk about this a little bit later. He's not going to be able to play due to injury.
Yeah, so other than that, we're going to have a couple other players, but there's still tickets available. It's going to be in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
All-Star.
It'll be a fun weekend just to go out and see the stadium if you haven't been there before, and see our team play, see some of our guys hopefully not get injured. And then other than that, what else is going on in Atlanta?
Well, other than that, what else is going on in Atlanta? We had just signed Eric Remedy from the Argentine club Banfield. Huge signing, big news. He's not eligible to play this game. He won't be eligible to play till July 10th. But this is the enforcer that we needed in midfield. We'll get into this a little bit later in the episode as well, but really excited. Great signing. 5 stripes don't stop. Eric Remedy joining the club.
Yeah, and then we're still first in the Supporters Shield standings. It's a big news. We got a couple teams right on our tail. But do you want to add any enlightenment onto that?
Well, I mean, I think the only other enlightenment is that Orlando has lost 7 straight games. Orlando is now all the way at 16th, while we sit at first in the Supporter Shield standings. And we could be further up. Like, the gap could be bigger, Joe. We have had terrible home form recently. But at the same time, we're still in first. We're still right where we want to be. We're still 2 points ahead of Sporting KC.
So Orlando sounds like they're really hurting. Like, can you tell me who's hurting on Atlanta?
Injury report. Injury report.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. Blake, tell me who's hurting.
That was menacing. Do we lost audio?
Keep it rolling, Blake.
I'm going to keep it rolling. So that's fine. This is better. So Greg Garza, Chris McCann, we know, left back, is out. What is our left back situation, Joe, from your perspective? Do you really think that Ambrose is the guy that takes us, for the rest of the season at left back position? Because that's the big gap in our team right now is left back. Who is our left back for the rest of the season?
Right now, we got a spot holder in Mikey Ambrose, who's played solid, but he leaves more to be expected and more to be wanted on his table. And there's a really good opportunity right now, or coming July 10th. You just mentioned in the news that we signed Eric Remedy, which leaves us a little bit of a section, a little table to sign a couple more players, 1 or 2, and there's a chance to sign maybe a left back. And I think that is a position of need, with Chris McCann being a day-to-day or weekly injury, and the only left back we have is Mikey Ambrose, unless we shuffle a player out of position to try him out there.
Well, what we haven't talked about is also Jose Hernandez that plays for ATL UTD2. He's a left back that we signed in the offseason from Venezuela. I feel like he could still come into the frame at some point, but Ambrose has played pretty well. I don't know if we sign another left back. I don't see it happening right now. I think that Remedy solidifies the midfield once Nagbe comes back, hopefully, which is why we're talking about injuries. Let's talk about Darlington Nagbe, which is unfortunately the worst news we've heard for a little while, at least when it comes to Atlanta United. It looks like he's out 2 to 3 months with an adductor injury. Not great news on that front for Nagbe.
Yeah, Nagbe went down in the Orlando game, or in the Portland game, and their own fans, we talked about Portland for a minute, their own fans were all upset to see their last player, one of their fan favorites, go down on the field, and didn't think it was too bad, but all of a sudden he's out for 2 to 3 months.
Gosh.
And then we were coming into the show thinking, who are we going to sign? But just a couple days ago, they signed Eric Remedy, a guy from Argentina. Let's talk about Remedy for a minute. He is a young player, 23 years old, has a ton of potential. He's trying to make his way onto the Argentine national team, and he plays a center defensive mid role, some position that we've been looking to get for the past year, ever since Carmona left. And now we got Remedy, who is almost a doppelganger of Carmona, looks like him and plays a lot like him.
He reminds me a little bit of Carlos. Can you roll the R? Can you roll? I can.
Carmona.
He reminds me a little bit of Carlos Carmona. But he's stronger and he's younger, and I think that he's going to bring more to our team for the long term than Carmona was going to. Because, Carmona was, 29 or 30 when we signed him. We're signing a player in Remedy who's at 24. He's in the prime of his career. I think that this guy could take us to the future.
We got Jeff Lorenowitz, who's 34, almost on his way out of soccer. So it's also a long-term signing where next year, if we lose Larry, he slides right into that number 6 position, plays that holding midfielder, and we don't lose anything.
And I think this has to be a lot of credit to the front office right now, because by signing Remedy, by signing Nagbe, even though he is out injured currently, we're really focusing on the long term. These are 2 players that will be mainstays in our midfield, I would see, for the next 3 to 4 years. So really encouraging to see that from the front office, not resting on their laurels, if you will, but really going out and getting talent. This guy was in the Argentinian League. Not a lot of people obviously watch the Argentinian League, but every report I've read is that he is a solid player, and he's really going to be an enforcer in defensive midfield for us.
Yeah, and one thing that scares me when he comes over, LGP had to learn this. If you guys know, LGP is known for getting yellow cards, and he is also very aggressive in Argentine style. Comes over to the MLS where they are happy to give out yellows and reds. And Eric Remedy is a very aggressive player. He got a ton of yellow cards in Argentina. He only came away with 1 red card in that league. But if you listen to our previous podcast, we talked about how MLS is very readily available to give a red card at any given moment. So he's going to be on Card Watch coming up, and that might be a new segment to see how many cards Remedy gets in the future.
The thing about it is, with MLS refs, you never know. It could be a very lenient ref. It could be a very, strict ref. It just depends on the situation. But, enough with injuries and transfers for now, Joe. Let's talk about this last match versus Portland. Last Sunday, we drew 1-1. Let's recap our next match.
Another home draw. Out of the past 5 games at home, we've only won 1 of them. We've lost 2, we've drawn 2. What's our home form like, Blake? Is it bothering you that we can't win?
I feel like you're giving me a lot of negative energy about how we're playing in Mercedes-Benz right now. And I think it's twofold. I think one is we are underperforming at home. I think that maybe our players are a little more relaxed on the road. I'm not sure if that's what's causing it. But I've noticed, in this game especially, we had a lot of chances to grab the game by the horns, to really take charge, put away a chance, You know, Joseph missed some chances. Our whole team missed some chances. But we could have put this game away. We ended up drawing at home on a hyped Benz on a Sunday. It was just disappointing, Joe. I don't know what's going on with their home form, but I know it has to change tomorrow. We are opening up the top deck. There are going to be 70,000 screaming fans there, and we got to come away with a win. Orlando's lost 7 straight games.
I've got a little bit of differing opinion on this, and the 2 we lost at home were tainted by red cards, and 2 of our players got ejected from the game and almost put us in an unwinnable situation. And then the 2 we tied were against top-tier teams, and we held on. We had our chances to win at the end, but we just couldn't pull it out. But if you look at it in the end, we still have the 3rd best home record in the whole MLS, and then on top of that, we got the best road record. So it's kind of like, hold your thoughts a little bit. Let's look at the whole picture, and on Saturday, when everyone's out there being rowdy and proud, we're going to bring back that home feeling, and I don't know if we're going to lose another game at home this year.
So you're predicting we lose 0 more games at home this year. I love it. I love the optimism. I don't know what it's been lacking. I think the fans need to bring it tomorrow. I think the team needs to bring it tomorrow. I think we need to come together. We need to tame the Lions, and we need to get this victory tomorrow. Let's talk a little bit about, obviously you said that 2 of the last 3 losses were affected by red cards. We could argue about the refs all night long. Everyone in Atlanta loves to boo the referee. That's one of our traditions, is we like to boo and sometimes throw things at the referee. But let's talk about why we lost last game. You know, Joseph came out, our lead striker, wearing a face mask, right?
Yeah, and he broke his nose in the Columbus game.
Scoring a goal.
It was a pretty incredible goal. He heads the ball and then headbutts a guy in the head and still continues on. And everyone was wondering if he was going to make the start, and he does. He comes back, puts a face mask on. It may have been an extension of his hairline, and looked pretty intimidating.
Joseph looked scary. He looked very scary on Sunday.
And he had plenty of chances in front of the net, and he missed all of them. And late in the game, frustrating, he rips his face mask off, throws it, starts kicking the post, starts kicking everything, and you thought the fury was coming out and he was about to score again.
Mask off.
But it did not happen.
Yeah,
and
mask off.
You know, is the face mask affecting Joseph scoring goals?
Well, you know, we saw another new thing from Joseph on Sunday, and we've talked in the past about, you know, his hair affecting his goal-scoring ratio. So I think it's time for another Joseph Martinez.
Beer of the Week!
We're going to do Beer of the Week.
Yeah. This week, Beer of the Week is Red Hare, SPF 50/50 Tangerine. It's a mix of Gangway IPA with a tangerine juice. And every week we do a little Beer of the Week, and I spike one in.
Joe's going to spike home a beer.
So you go with this. You want to give me a little ATL chant if you watch my hammer?
I got it.
We're going to go ATL like we do at the games. Ready?
ATL.
Oh,
wow. Wow, that was impressive, dude.
I got aggressive with that one.
That was super impressive.
Yeah, but then we got Tangerine IPA. It's 50/50, and it's a wonderful, wonderful tasting beer. If you guys like a tangerine juice and you like IPA, this is a wonderful beer to drink, especially at tailgating or floating down a river or in the summer. You can pour it into a glass and drink it all day long. It's only 4% alcohol, so you got plenty to drink and not get too drunk.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, they got the grapefruit soda here. They got the root beer here on tap at Red Hare. Some non-alcoholic options. They also have a 50/50 grapefruit soda IPA as well. This is the 50/50 tangerine. This is the beer of the summer for Red Hare. This is a very tasty beer.
And they also got a great can with the bunnies, the rabbits drinking their beer on the beach, and you can see a tangerine sunset.
Yeah, earlier today we met the guy that draws all the rabbits. He was just up here meeting us.
Yeah, that's Frank, who draws the rabbits. He's a cool guy. Go see him later if you want to drink a beer.
Yeah, if you guys are at Red Hare ever, ask for Frank. He's the rabbit artist. Every rabbit you see in Red Hare, Frank has created, and he's happy to show you all of his rabbit creations. So shout out to Frank. Moving on, Joe. you know, we can't blame Joseph Martinez, obviously, for his lack of goal-scoring prowess when he's wearing a mask. Let's go back to what we were talking about. His hair's in play, the mask is in play. What do you think we see from Joseph Martinez tomorrow night? Is he going to come out with the mask on, mask off, and what's your predicted hairstyle? I think our listeners have to know.
Well, does that mean it's time for a hair watch?
I think it's time for a hair watch, but you know what? We're still drinking SBF 50/50, which is our beer of the week.
If you haven't gotten a beer, there's plenty at the bar. Go up there and tip your bartenders.
Tip the bartenders. Don't forget about the rabbits.
But
so,
yeah,
let's talk about Orlando. That's what everyone's here to listen to. We got a huge game tomorrow night. Obviously, you know, looking at records, everyone would say, why does this game matter? Why is Orlando important? And why are they a rival when we've only been around for 2 years? Joe, give us some insight into why this game matters so much.
Oh, man, it's Orlando City. We play them 3 times a year, and they are our forced-upon rivals, and it's just fun to watch us go out there and beat them. They have yet to beat Atlanta ever in our wonderful 2-year existence.
Yeah, and our deeply embedded history of 2017.
And they've got the draw of playing Atlanta 3 times every year. And we have a guy on our team, Tito the Lion Tamer, who has made a name for himself by scoring late game winners against this team. And it's just wonderful to look at this city and see that they do not succeed in the way that we have succeeded in soccer.
Yeah, well, you know, Orlando, started just recently before us. They signed Kaká, who was a legend, and you know, of all of world soccer, Kaká is one of the greatest players of all time, the Brazilian attacking midfielder.
He's won the Ballon d'Or, the greatest player in the world at the time.
Yeah, so, you know, he came into Orlando their first year in existence, really built a lot of hype around their team. And then, you know, they've just kind of fallen off. Last game we beat Orlando, and they threw trash all over their own field.
And this is a team that started off every year strong. And they look like they're one of the best teams in the league. And it started again this year. They thought that last time we did a preview episode, we were thinking this is the hottest team in the MLS, and this is a game we're going to have to watch out for. We go out and beat them 2-1. Their fans go crazy, start throwing trash on the field. And since that game, they haven't won a single game.
Yeah, and they earned themselves the name Trashlando in the process. So, you know, if you guys ever have, you know, family or friends in Orlando, I think from now on we should just go ahead and refer to it as Trashlando.
Trashlando. And so, why is Orlando losing all these games? There's been a lot of turmoil in their whole organization.
Yeah.
Recently, 2 games after they played Atlanta, they fired their head coach. And so they've got an interim head coach coming in, and he changes their whole style of play. This guy's name is Bobby Murphy, and he came in and made them from a defensive-minded team to a 3-4-3. And during the midst of the whole formation change, they had injuries to their center backs.
Yeah.
So they were throwing midfielders and guys off the bench that never played center back in their life to play center back in a new formation.
Meanwhile, their striker is getting death threats from their own fans, which we have to hit on.
Yeah, give me this. Justin Miram, who, if you haven't heard the news, by the way, has been released from the team for a week. He will not be there for the Atlanta United game. And recently in the news, he has been getting death threats from fans. So the Orlando City fans hate their players so much that they're going to threaten to kill their own players.
Yeah, and I think that's something we have to hit on, you know, to our fan base, people that are on social media, people that are on, you know, places where they can communicate with players. I've seen some hate on social media towards some of our players, even some of our best players like Joseph Martinez. You guys support the players. I think that's a message that I have to the fans. Just from another fan's perspective, don't harass them on social media. Don't send them, you know, incredibly terrible messages. Just like these guys are people too. You wouldn't want to be getting death threats. Apparently, this Orlando City player got death threats, and now he's off the team for right now. Yeah.
So, and then other news and just how much transition this Orlando team's going in. They just hired their new coach today, Friday at 2 p.m. They hired a new coach from Louisville FC,
yeah,
a USL club that has had a very solid record. They are known for winning, and so they, instead of going international, they keep it in home and they bring on a new coach. But he's not going to coach for the Atlanta game. They're going to keep it with Bobby, who hasn't won a game with Orlando, and then bring on this guy who has had a great soccer record too. I mean, he's played in the EPL. He's played with Burnley. He's played with other West Bromwich Albion and a couple other like Sheffield. And great soccer career. Had a great career coaching the USL team. And a really fun fact is Orlando's still in the U.S. Open Cup. And if they win their next game, Louisville's still in it. If they win, they might have a head-to-head matchup against their former coach. And Orlando, new coach, could lose to his former team.
Yeah, James O'Connor is their new coach. Obviously, he's not going to be coaching in this game. So hopefully we can keep the old Bobby Murphy form for Orlando tomorrow and hand them their 8th straight loss. So let's talk a little bit about, more of the tactical side of this match, Joe, because there's a lot of questions out there with the Nagbe injury, with, players that, how did they get in the lineup? Like, Tito's been out of the lineup. I think it's time to break down tactically. Let's go into Tata's tactics.
Or beer of the week is also one of my favorite times to do it. So
I agree. So who replaces Nagbe, I think, is the question on everyone's mind. Darlington is the centerpiece of our midfield. Who is out there that's going to replace Darlington Nagbe?
This is a great question. Darlington Nagbe has been so influential. He came in for Carmona, and he was a box-to-box guy, but he added a little different aspect where Carmona was more defensive and won more tackles and broke up more counterattacks, whereas Nagbe was more of pushing it to the offense, and he created more chances. And we score, at this point in the season from last year, we score more goals per game, and he creates so many chances. So now it's a question of who's going to replace him.
Yeah.
And immediately you turn to Tito Villalba has been out of the game for weeks now, and he's only been featured at the end of the game, but you got to think his injury is settled now that he's played, and now he's going to be forced in the game. The other option is Kevin Kratz.
Yeah, well, I think it's a big point, too, that, you have to, think, as Gressel has played so well, I think you have to keep Gressel in the midfield and put Tito out on the wing. It would be my first move if I'm Tata.
So you bring Tito Villalba on, replace Gressel, push Gressel into the central midfield and replace Nagbe.
Yeah,
and keep everybody else the same.
Exactly, because Gressel's played there in the past. He's familiar with central midfield. I think that he's a great player, and he's really coming to his own this year. He can play out on the right-hand side, but at the same time, I think that he's played really well in a central midfield role in the past. So,
Yeah. And then your other option is if you want to bring Kevin Kratz onto the field. And Tata Martino has been very, very much influential to Kratz and loving to play him in the game. So Kratz comes in and he can play that box-to-box midfield. And then you got that specialty free kick player on the field in case that ever arises. And we all know Miguel Almiron has been very bad at free kicks.
Yeah.
And whether you want to admit it or not, he has not been able to put that ball into a dangerous position or on goal. So having Kratz on the field and gives you that option. And then if he's on the field, that turns the question, do you start Gressel and keep him on the wing where he's been all year, or do you bring in Tito Villalba, who brings that dynamic speed and that outside of the box shot?
Yeah, well, I think it's a great point to bring up because Kratz is an easily slottable player, but I think that we really need Tito for our attack, and I think that Kratz does bring in a certain aspect where Kratz can bring in a free kick specialist role that we don't have right now, but at the same time, Gressel has brought something to our team that we've lacked all year. He got a goal against Portland. He has a little bit of grit to his play. I really would like to see Gressel slot into the midfield.
That's a good lineup, but I want to bring up one of what I think. Well, if I were playing FIFA right now and I had the season-ending injury, the position I would fill, I would move Miguel Almiron from center attacking mid back to a central box-to-box midfielder, kind of like he plays in his home country, Paraguay. And then I would replace him with Julian Gressel as that center attacking mid. And then I would bring Tito Villalba on the right wing. And then you let the workhorse of our team, the guy that has the highest energy and always tracks back to get the tackle. You got Miguel Almiron playing that position, and he still, if he has the ball, will push it up the field, and he will be a like-for-like replacement for Darlington Nagbe. And he can allow Julian Gressel to be more in his comfort zone in the attacking third of the field. And he can push up. He can still he can drift out to the right or the left and send his wonderful crosses in. And then you have Tito Villalba bombing down the wing. What do you think of that lineup?
I think both lineups are a great option. I think tomorrow we really don't know what we're going to get from Tata, because at times he's played 3 in the back this year. At times he's played 4 in the back this year. I don't think it's like a set methodology. Methodology in terms of who we got on the field at one time. Tata's about rotation. I think he's going to play the best players at the best time. I really think that Tito has earned his place based off how he's played. So I think you got to insert Villalba into the team, especially with his history against Orlando. I mean, he's the lion tamer.
Tito, the lion tamer. He's going to come in, and even if he doesn't start, which I fully expect him to start, if he does not start, he will come in as a sub with about 15 minutes left, and we'll be tied 1-1, and he's going to score the game-winning goal.
Yeah, and I still haven't really forgiven Kratz for that penalty he gave away a couple of games ago. And Kratz is just not the defensive player in the midfield that we need right now, in my opinion.
In your mindset, he's not, but I give him a pass for that one mistake he's made. He tracks back and plays defense. He's a very central midfield. I don't see him as an attacker in midfield. I see him as a box-to-box or a holding midfielder who has a pure striking foot that can play on a free kick.
So you would say Kratz is the more direct Nagbe replacement for these 2 to 3 months that Nagbe's going to be out with the injury?
I would say Miguel Almiron is the pure replacement and put Julian Gressel up front as the attacking mid.
Right.
I just don't know if Tata Martino is ready to take Miguel Almiron out of that attacking midfield. So in that case, I would put Kratz at that center midfield.
Yeah, and it's going to be awesome to see, obviously, tomorrow, with all of our fans in the building and the support behind the team. How do we kind of react to the pressure on this game? Because this is a prime time, 7 p.m. ESPN game. This isn't ESPN 1, this isn't 2, 3, it's not the Ocho. This is like the main ESPN. It's going to be, the spotlight's on Atlanta. The World Cup games are over for the day. There's nothing else going on in the sports world besides baseball, and that's incredibly boring. Sorry to all the Braves fans, but this is going to be the spotlight game. How are our players going to, are they going to show up? I mean, that's the biggest question.
You've got Orlando coming in here, haven't won a game or even drawn a game in 7 tries. Atlanta's kind of been stumbling at home, and so everyone looking at the schedule, they're like, this is the textbook trap game. And they think Orlando can come here and steal a win. But I'm thinking quite the opposite. Orlando is in turmoil. They're going through their 3rd coach in just under a month. And they've got players that are getting death threats. They've got injured players that are coming back from injury. They got Yoshi Yatun, a guy who, for Peru, is coming back from Russia. He played every single game for Peru.
In the World Cup.
In the World Cup.
Yeah.
He had a great lead up to their first goal in the World Cup in 30 years. And does he start the game? I hope so, because he's traveled several hours and played 3 games in a week. So if not, that's great too. They don't know who's starting on their left wing. I think this is a game Atlanta scores the first goal and then they just take over from there. And this is going to be a goal fest for Atlanta strikers. And it's going to be something the fans have been waiting for all season long. And we're going to break that 4-goal mark.
I think the World Cup is a huge theme this summer, and I want to hit on this just briefly. Coming up, Joe, we have the World Cup final, and there's actually going to be a watch party in Mercedes-Benz. You mentioned, Yoshi Yatun coming back from Russia. That would be a long flight. I don't know what, Moscow to Atlanta would be in the air.
I've been to Poland before, and that was I think it was a 13-hour flight.
So, yeah.
And Poland is the next country over from Russia. And I don't know where Yoshi Yatun flew out of. So it's at least 14 hours. And then you got to think he played on Tuesday. So he's not going to leave until Wednesday, maybe Thursday. And he may have just gotten back tonight or tomorrow. So I do not expect him to play a game.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is I think it's awesome from an Atlanta United fan perspective, from a front office perspective, how the front office and MLS has kind of leveraged the World Cup focus and still kept the spotlight on Atlanta United. I think that's really key. So a couple of examples I have. Obviously this game on Saturday night, we have 2 incredible round of 16 matchups, right? And then that night on ESPN, kind of capping the day of soccer is an MLS matchup of 2 rivals, and I just think it's fantastic that Atlanta has taken that spotlight in the MLS and said, okay, World Cup's going on, what's going on at night, people that are soccer thirsty, soccer hungry, here's your match. And then obviously the World Cup final coming up. What we have is a World Cup final watch party in Mercedes-Benz, and Fox, which is broadcasting nationally for the World Cup final, is going to pan directly from the trophy celebration, to basically Mercedes-Benz. It's going to go from World Cup final to Mercedes-Benz.
It's going to be a packed out house. If you guys haven't gotten your tickets, please go out and get them. It's going to be a fun night. But other than that, I mean, it's going to be a fun night Saturday. And Blake, I know you're going to be there. I'm going to be there. We just created a new game out back. There's a soccer pong. If you guys haven't played it, you can kick a soccer ball into a trash can and set them up like beer pong. And that's a new tailgating game that we're going to introduce at this next tailgate.
I think it's been around.
So,
did you invent it? Are you copywriting that?
I'm copywriting it today. But other than that,
I don't know about that.
Everyone go out and drink SPF 50/50 Tangerine IPA.
But don't drink too many.
This has been ATLiens United. Thank you for tuning into our live podcast.
We're going to be around a while.
Everyone subscribe, give us 5 stars, and we're about to do our little raffle for some.
We're going to give away
cool
some free
prizes.
stuff. So if you guys want some autographed stuff or some merch,
cheers, Blake.
Stick around. Cheers. Okay, we're gonna give away free stuff. That's what everyone's been waiting for. Where's Chase? It's Chase's birthday.
If you haven't gotten a raffle ticket, last chance right now. Come up to see me if you want a raffle ticket. We got a couple of signed hats, a wonderful flag.
Oh no, we also have a short.